Let's try out the number 93 ScrawlrBox. Inside this month's box was a set of Ecoline Duotip markers, and in this video we're going to try these out using some of the Scrawlr tips as featured in this month's zine. And we'll be using the mixed media paper, which was also included in the box. A few extra items you might need are some water and some paintbrushes, and I'm using the jam jar lid as a mini palette. Let's start with a wash to create a background. Scribble on a palette to get out the pigment, adding a little bit of water to soften the colour. I'm going to use a wet on wet technique to apply the ink. So using some clean water, I've applied it to the page first, not too much because you don't want it to pool. I'm going to dab the ink on randomly to create a more subtle texture. And waste not, want not, I'll get the rest of that ink on too. It will make some really nice dotty splat kind of effects. Make sure you clean off all the ink from your palette before adding a new colour. This will prevent any unwanted muddy colours. I'm dabbing the excess water and ink off too, and this will soften the wash just that little bit more, and it also makes it dry quicker, which is great when you're impatient like me. Repeat this process for the pink and for the blue too, gradually creating a nice colourful background to work on. I'm going to slightly overlap the inks as well as I go along. This will create a nice subtle colour transition. Let that dry completely before going back on top. You could also use a sponge to create a wash background like this. The more water you add, the lighter the colour. Okay, we're completely dry now, so we're going to make a pattern on top. The supply menu makes for a great makeshift ruler to draw a rough boundary. These supplies lend themselves really well to layering, especially the Copic liner. It's smudge-proof and waterproof, so it glides really nicely on top of the dry ink. Perfect for some mindful scrolling, and I saw a TikTok by Untangling Addy, so I thought I'd give it a go. Take some time to experiment and clear the mind with a bit of creativity. From the dot we put roughly in the middle, we're going to do some squiggling lines out, and then inside those lines we'll draw some splashes, alternating the direction between each section. Once the splashes are drawn in, colour around and fill in the gaps with the Copic liner. I sort of mixed up the sizing of the splashes as I went along and did whatever felt good without thinking too much into it. Just enjoyed the feeling of the repetitive action and smoothness of the Copic liner. Very satisfying. I added a border as well, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And that's one of the great things about mindful drawing. There are no rules. You just do whatever feels right. It's a really great way to unwind and relax. Once that's all filled in, let it dry completely before going back in with some more colour. We're going to go back on top with the Ecoline pens, and as the Copic liner is smudge proof and waterproof, it shouldn't bleed out. Starting with the lightest colour first, we're going to do some blending now. Lay the ink down first and then work over the top with a wet paintbrush. And then adding in the pink, we're going to do the same thing and sweep the colours into each other to create a smooth blend. I had added some marks to the page as well, with little dots and hashes, giving a little bit of texture and visual interest. I kept adding these different marks, sometimes blending them in, sometimes not. Going back over the wet areas, going over the dry areas, just doing whatever felt right. And then once that patch was done, I moved on to the blue, doing the same things again. Dot, dab, line, water, repeat. A simple exercise to warm up the hands and brain before moving on to something a bit more serious. And that's it, playing with the number 93 ScrawlrBox done. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more of this kind of content. Oh, and don't forget, we go live once a month, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Turn on the notifications. Until next time, Scrawlers, keep scrolling.